And so that was my challenge, and I wanted you to reflect on this one thought. How do you live and do business, family, and life within the scope or worldview of this book called the Bible? How do you really live this out in your life? All aspects of life, where you live, where you work, where you play, where you worship. All aspects of life, not just business. Where the King is working in you in such a mighty way that transformation is taking place, not only in your mind, but in your heart, in your hands, and your feet. And you see that the King is bigger than you, that the movement is bigger than you, and the business that he's given you has been given to you for a special purpose. And the question is, what are you doing with God's jewels? We have a model of kingdom company and kingdom leaders. So we have a model that to run on. This model has been effective for many years. We failed at it for 35. We're going to fail at it for 36, but we just keep working on it. And at some point, we're going to get a little bit better and a little bit better. It's Jesus Christ operating in your business and in your life. It's ministry happening in your business and in your life. We're going to talk about that. And so here's something, Jeff, that I'm going to throw out as a real big vision. And it might only be that, but it is a vision. And that is, the Lord is calling FCCI to train 9 million Christian business leaders in the next 20 years. 9 million Christian business leaders in the next 20 years. To reach 1 billion people in the next 20 years. And so the Lord is moving us to trust him for that. 9 million people represents 10% of Christian business leaders around the world. There's 90 million businesses around the world that we can count. Right now, all marketplace movements together represent 0.3%. That's why you've never heard of us before. None of us. 0.3%. After 35 years of ministry. Billions of dollars being spent. Praise the Lord for that. But now we're moving out in a mass market way to reach 9 million people, 10%. So imagine the goal is 0.3%, moving out to 10% in the next 20 years, or 9 million people, to reach 1 billion people. There are 3 billion people unsaved. So how can the Christian marketplace, the business leaders, be the change agents for the world? Government can't do it. Not that I know of. They never can police moral values. So who's left? Educational institutions? The business leader can have impact. And I'm going to talk to you about how we can have impact and where we can have impact and how we're targeting and focusing that impact. And I'll give you an update of how the Lord is already moving. And so why California market is so important is because if you look at the U.S. markets, the California market is the 3rd largest market for global influence. New York City, Chicago, and LA are critical to global transformation. So why the California marketplace? More than 70% of the work population in this community did not attend church last week. It did not attend church the week before. But they did sit in your offices. They did come to work on Monday through Friday. The question is, if they're not sitting in the church and it's not at home, where are they ever hearing the gospel? We can touch 70% of the population. You're talking about the largest unreached people group. They're sitting in your cubicles. The second reason why California is that today cities are the global economy. They are impacting. The 40 largest cities account for 2/3 of the world's output. But the Lord has been sending us out, and we won't go unless we're invited. So we're not inviting ourselves into anywhere. We're responding to the requests coming in. And all of these requests are new markets just like this that's opening up. We just opened up Boston, Philly, Orlando. We're about to open up Ohio. Iowa. There's 22 marketplaces that's about to launch FCCI ministry in the next 6 months. Ron tells me that there's fruit here, that the Lord's already beginning to move here in ways that we haven't seen in 35 years. Is there fruit here? I believe there is. I believe there's God stories here, how transformation is taking place in your life, in your business, in your community, in the nation. And we need to do a better job of telling those stories so that others can be encouraged around this movement. This state is key because you are a gateway to the nations. And so I want to invest in the gateway to the nations. What happens here, good, bad, or indifferent, impacts culture. And believe it or not, my father challenged me at a very early age to impact culture. I grew up at a time that maybe the opportunities for African Americans was not as great. But my father said, never, if you're going to shape culture and change the way corporate America operates, you can never do it from the outside throwing bricks in. You have to do it from the inside, mixing it up in healthy debate. And so he taught me that as a 6-year-old kid, taking me out to meetings and said, Terence, I'll never have the opportunity that you will have in a lifetime. But if you ever get the opportunity to change culture, and the way you do that is to be in a position to hire and fire people. If you're in a position to hire and fire people, you can shape culture because an organization is all about people. And if it is, we're not doing transformation. We're having great groups, we're having great fellowship, we may even love each other, but I'm interested in transformation of life. We should see souls coming to Christ. We should see sanctification, which is spiritual maturity coming to. Our lives should be different. We should see acts of service where this community is giving itself away, not inwardly focused, but outwardly focused. We should see a difference in this market. And so there's some global trends that are taking place, and I want to bring you to speak. You're talking about the why, Jeff. You're talking about the urgency. You're talking about why is this important. I want to talk to you very quickly through 5 global trends that is impacting the world. And those trends must be reversed. And there is a sense of urgency, and FCCI needs to be in the center of the urgency. There's 5 trends that I want to quickly focus you on that are critical. And the one is that growth in Islam and Christianity is taking place. But it is a battle. It is a war. It is a race to the finish. The second is destabilizing youth groups. We'll talk about that. The third is a rise of radicalism and grassroots religious persecution. You're going to see more persecution at grassroots levels than you've ever seen before. The fourth is technology is moving this power to the edge, as Daniel shared with us earlier. We can reach new people groups, but also our competitors, our enemies, the evil ones, can also reach those same people groups with the same technology. Non-readers on the rise. So the methodology of how we educate and how we train and how we reach people has to be looked at differently than the way we used to teach people. We have one of the highest illiteracy rates right now in the world than ever before. And so we're reaching a people group that don't read, they don't write, they don't do some things that we've been used to teaching, but they can watch video and they can watch it in their own language and their own culture. So how do we educate? We never change the message, but we must change some of the methodology. See, what's happening is when you were transformed, you were kind of walking this way and the Lord turns you. Nothing in you turns you. Paul says you were never seeking him, but there was a mighty call that got your attention. And by faith in him, you were turned. Notice the plans. There might be hills and valleys or straight ways, but they're both going towards the same finish line. And that finish line is Jesus Christ. To become more and more like him. The truth that's coming through your life through the power of the gospel, through the power of prayer, and through the power of worship is working in your life in such a way that you'll never be the same. So our plan is focused on a finish line, and that is to say, well done, good and faithful servant. And I want to be one of those Jesus freaks. It's okay to be a Jesus freak. Because at the end of the day, he's going to ask you, what did you do with my son? And you need to have a response to that answer. But he already knows that answer. And so we are sold out to Jesus. This is all about kingdom. This is not about FCCI. FCCI is a vehicle that he's moving through. But this is truly about a kingdom movement, not an FCCI movement. And that's why we're fine with inviting partners to work with us and us work with them. Because as long as they're focused on the same mission, which is kingdom, we're in good company. And so we want to continue. We want to do collaborative effort because this thing is bigger than all of us. It's too much. And none of us can do it on our own. And so this started with 7 founders, 35 years ago, these 7 ordinary people looking at their lives and saying, is my life significant, not just successful? Am I leading my business with integrity and character? Bobby Mitchell was one of those founders. He's on the left-hand side on my side. And you would probably know some of the founders, Larry Burkett. You would probably like Bert Stumberg if you've been around for a while. Jim Dismore used to work with Walmart and so forth. Some of them you may not know because they're just ordinary business guys answering questions, trying to figure it out. And they all have a story. You have a story. Their story was that they were not leading their company with integrity that glorified the Lord. They were seeking answers, couldn't find it, didn't have books. And FCCI became a catalyst for the marketplace movement some 35 years ago. They started in Atlanta with a question: what would happen if God really truly owned my business? Would anything change? They formed a conference. They started to have conversation. Larry Burkett was doing the teaching. Bruce Wilkinson came later. And they started to say, what is this thing, marketplace ministry, all about? They couldn't figure it out. But the Lord already knew it. They never thought it would be a ministry. They never thought it would be global. They was just men on their knees trying to figure out what the Lord was saying. Those questions led to more transformational rooted questions. Questions like, what if my business became this platform that Jesus would be in the corner office, not just me in the corner office, but I would truly turn my business over to Jesus and put him in the corner office for real. Every decision I make would be taken to the corner office, meaning we would go and say, Jesus, what do you think? Someone said it earlier, it's Jesus. It is Jesus. It is about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. And don't let this society tell you that you must be different, because this society isn't taking us down the pathway of God's plan. This society is taking us opposite of God's plan. We should never be like and strive to be like this society. We are impacting and affecting and making contagious in this society his standard of truth, not theirs. Are you measuring the souls that have come to Christ because you're in business? Are you measuring the spiritual maturity of the people that are sitting in your business leadership groups? How do you even measure that? Are you measuring the services that's taking place in your community as a result of you being here? We're going to talk about all 3 of those things. Well, this movement caught fire by some folks that you probably know. Billy Graham talked about, I believe, one of the next great moves of God is through the marketplace. Dr. Henry Blackerby, that's been walking with this ministry for many years, talked about he believes that God is marshaling his people in the marketplace as never before in history. Ken Blanchard, a well-known author who resides, I believe, here in Orange County or somewhere in this area, he talked about the best way to move from success to significance is to lead your company for Christ. This movement is from an old burning bush. It's nothing new. The Bible tells you that this movement happened years ago. Paul understood. He was teaching this in the marketplace. Jesus was teaching it in the marketplace. On and on. Levi, Matthew was teaching it in the marketplace. They were not accepted in the synagogues. And so where was he taking place? In the marketplace. This is not a new movement. This is an old movement from an old burning bush. But it's still aflame. And it's heating up. And Jesus almost exclusively used marketplace illustrations. And then all of a sudden the secular world started to catch on. They're always the last one to catch on. We think they're the first guys, but they're the last guys to catch on. Jesus has always set the standard. The world catches up to where he is and try to destroy what he has built. So the marketplace took on, and then all of a sudden the secular world said, well, Forbes magazine, spirituality in the workplace, is that going to work? The Bible, no, I don't know about all that stuff. LA Times, faithful carving niche in the marketplace. New York Times started to get the story. Many of our secular media, they're keenly aware that there's an increasing movement in the Christian marketplace. And they are concerned, and they should be. And I want them to be even more. Well, here's some fact sheets that this movement started to catch fire, and all of a sudden, the Lord takes this ministry to 83 nations. And guys and ladies, I want to tell you that in the last year, we've gone from 30 to 83 nations. We've written a book on the story. I said, Bobby Mitchell, you got to write a book. Because I sit down with Bobby and one of the founders, and he keeps telling me all these amazing stories. I said, nobody knows these stories, Bobby. You got to write a book. And so he wrote the book. In fact, Daniel, you should have saved us some money. We're going to be publishing the book in China through ZDL. And they've agreed to distribute 20,000 copies of this book. One of our fastest growing markets right now is Asia. It's very interesting. Second largest is Europe. And if any of you know Europe, God has been absent in Europe for a long time. We're the number one marketplace in the ministry. We're the catalyst of marketplace ministry the way we do it today. 42 other ministries was birthed from FCCI. All it means is that FCCI has been a catalyst in marketplace ministry for a long time. And we've learned from people like CBMC. We've learned from people that has been before us. But we have paved the way for many other marketplace ministries to take the road and take new ground. We also have world-class conferences. I pray that you would all come to the conference in September 21st to the 24th. Not because I want to see you there and have more people. Because I want you to meet men and women, business leaders from 83 nations who are coming to this conference. And they're going to talk about how they're leading their companies for Christ. Imagine in Ukraine. How they're leading their companies for Christ in Pakistan. How they're leading their companies for Christ in Iran and Iraq. That's what's happening within FCCI. I want you to meet those people. We've got 10 people coming from Ukraine that's going to talk about how the Lord is moving in Ukraine right now, especially during this crisis and the impact that they're having. That's why I want you at the conference. And I want you to see that this FCCI is bigger even than Orange County. It's bigger than California. It's in 83 nations around the world. I believe you need to get a taste of FCCI at this conference. There. We have the richest library of resources in the world for Christian business owners. I've gone back and I've looked at all the resources over 35 years, and we're going to be refreshing those resources and putting them out. In fact, starting next month, we're going to start a new project called an FCCI White Papers. And what that is, we're going to take old resources and refresh them, and you'll get new content for your groups. You're going to really get this for group leaders. New content every week, new content. You don't have to wait on the conference anymore. You don't have to wait on Pathway to Purpose once a year anymore. You need content categorized by topic. And so we're going to categorize it, topic it, and send it out every week for the next 5 years is our plan. I believe we're at a pivotal time for a movement of God that is so bold and so great that it will be finished because he's in it. And so that's FCCI. Our vision is to transform the world through Christ, one company leader at a time, not through us. Christ working in us. And our mission, notice it, is in pursuit of Christ's eternal objectives. Not our objectives. Not Terrence's objectives. Not yours. It's his objective. How do we do it? We equip and we encourage you to fight the fight because it's lonely. You're going to be attacked. There's going to be challenges and struggles. People are going to tell you, you can't use your business this way. We're telling you, you must use your business this way. We're building a Christian business leaders community. That's what we're building. A Christian business leaders community. They are equipping these followers of Christ to reach the lost. You can just call that salvation. We are also equipping spiritual maturity in these leaders. Call it sanctification. And finally, we're equipping for works of service, where the Lord calls us, not where we call ourselves. Salvation, sanctification, service. A community that's thriving in those three areas to make a difference. How are we building it? Who are we building it with? Business owners, professionals, senior executives, emerging leaders, legacy leaders, organizational leaders. If you're one of those, we want to talk to you. In pursuit of Christ's eternal objectives, this is exactly it. Let me tell you how some of the programs linked up. Here's the key. We're looking for those who are called into these areas. A shared calling around salvation. God's saving act of deliverance. That's who it is, so we don't have to worry about it. We can't mess it up. Our business leadership groups is where transformation takes place. Without being you can be a member of FCCI, but transformation takes place in our business leadership groups. Facilitated group, men, women doing life on life together, accountability high, but in love and gentleness. And it's not a Bible study. We are a business leadership group talking about business issues, but how to integrate our faith into that discussion. What thus says the Lord, not what thus says Jack and Jill. There's a different plumb line. I can take the best business book writer of all time, and then I've got another book with 66 books in it. And I'll stack this one up against all the ones you want to stack up. It's a pretty good one. So we use that one. It's his basic instructions before leaving this earth. It's called the Bible. And then service is one that's near and dear to my heart. How do we be priests in the marketplace? Priests in the marketplace. One that's near to my heart is FCCI Fellows. FCCI Fellows is a summer intern program, a 10-week summer program we're launching this summer. We just teamed up with InterVarsity Campus Crusade and Navigators. And we want to train 1 million of the next generation leaders, the next leaders of world affairs. So they don't have to be just in business. They can be in any concentration. We just want them to be leaders in that area. So we're saying what will happen if a legacy leader is mentoring the next generation for 10 weeks, something magical will happen. It's a 10-week program. It's a paid position. They have to take on a major project that impact your business or the community and report to you on that. They also will sit in our business leadership groups to see how Life on Life is done. Okay? And then I believe if we reach those individuals, we can begin to change the culture and the nature and what's happening in America. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, and I want to end with this. I want to just, I told you a little bit about FCCI. I told you with my prayer how the Lord's moving. He's moving in a mighty way. But I want you to look at the nations. Habakkuk was sitting there complaining to God, telling God what he should be doing. God, why aren't you doing this? God, why don't you correct these people? Why don't you just go ahead and knock them off? And the Lord finally answered him in Habakkuk 1:5. He says, I want you to look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe it, even if I told you. And you know and I know he was already raising up an army to course correct. You are that army. The question is, will you take up the arms to fight this battle? We are in a battle of good and evil. And it will be won. The question is, will you pick up your arms and defend the truth that you say you believe in? Thank you so much.